Hopefully.
Now.
Oh, we do it. Welcome, Wrestle Buddies, to our weekly podcast. Apologies about the lack of video at the start. I'm still trying to get used to this. I'll make sure that I speak with Alex and get all this sorted out for next time. But we're live, and we've got that far, so at least we've got something, eh, Jim?
Yeah, that's all that matters, as long as we're here.
That's the one. Not a bad little week in wrestling. Little bit disappointing in certain aspects, but a lot together. What's your thoughts on this week, Jim, as a whole?
Yeah, there was a lot that happened, but there was a lot that just makes me shake my head and really cringe at the thought of going to WrestleMania.
So you're not too happy then with Ronda and
it's not that I'm not happy about it. I'm not happy about how it's all transpired. It was very lazy how they went about making this whole situation.
Yeah, I mean, do you know one thing that I will say is, like, they just threw it about, didn't they? Which, was not great anyway. And the other thing that I've not liked so far, I mean, we did see it yesterday a little bit, but Ronda just doesn't look like she wants to be there, does she?
I saw a theory that was trying to say that that's her character, that she's been frozen in time since she left, and now she's unfrozen. They're just dropping her back in how she was. So she's that same character. Was like, I don't have to be here. I don't know. I'm not big on Ronda. There's very few things you will catch me hating WWE for. I think anyone who knows me knows that. And then I hate the stuff they do with Ronda Rousey. So.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. It's not even that I hate Ronda, to be honest. I'm a fan of Ronda in the sense of I like the fact that she brings eyes on the product and all this stuff that does go on. Is I'm not that bothered about it too much. Do you know what I mean? But just that the one thing that I don't want is somebody that doesn't want to be there. Hey, Courtney, how we doing? Nice to see you. Good to see you. But so we'll just go through our weekly round up and we'll see what we think of what's been going on, Jim. So first of all, let me just get it up here. See, I'm all prepared here, mate. So the Rumble fallout. So first of all, what did you think of the Royal Rumble?
As I've said, I think I had no problem with any of the matches. I think I was a fan of some of the matches more than others. But the Royal Rumble matches themselves just
incoming call from 07450.
Oh, sorry about this. It's my phone.
But yeah, the Rumble matches themselves were just not my cup of tea. I think the eliminations just seemed lazy. They didn't make sense. Many of them didn't make sense to me. And then the winners obviously were not what I was wanting to see. I want to see actual stars getting made, not people who already have the opportunity to just be handed it to them even furthermore. That's my problem with the Royal Rumble.
Bill, sorry about that, Jim. I just had an important phone call. It was me that just like, guys, my dad's not being too well, so obviously I have to answer my phone. But my dad does watch us, so Dad, get better soon, mate. I love you. Man. Hope you feel better soon, and thanks for everything that you do for us as well. On the Rumble, I thought the first 2 hours was great. I thought it really was. I liked the Women's Rumble. Take away the fact people go on saying, well, Ronda was in it and everything else. I did like the Women's Rumble. I thought it had a nice mixture of nostalgia pops. And the one thing that I'd say with the Women's Rumble as well is, even when Ronda was in there, Bianca, Sasha, who was in there at certain points, there was people who were credible contenders to win the match, real credible contenders. In the Men's Rumble, I didn't feel like there was a lot of credible contenders. I mean, obviously we had AJ in there at one point, so you could say him, Drew potentially, but the difference between the Ronda return and the Brock Lesnar enter in the men's, as soon as I seen Brock, I went, oh, that's it, it's over. Yeah. Because I didn't feel like there was anybody else that was credible enough to beat to win apart from. Do you get what I'm trying to say here?
I do to an extent, but I had the same exact thought when I saw Ronda. Like, my son literally turned around to me and laughed because he knew exactly what I was thinking as soon as Ronda's music hit. I will agree that I think they booked the women's one better. I think the mix of nostalgia and stars and all that, I don't understand the Sasha elimination. If you're going to put her at number 1 and then eliminate her as soon as you did, didn't really make sense to me. Why are you putting her in that position? And I do like that towards the end, you had Charlotte, you had Rhea, you had Bianca. There was people that you could have logically thought, okay, yeah, they could still win this. But in the back of my head, it was always, yeah, Ronda's winning as soon as it was. And I cringed because the match for Ronda is Becky.
Yeah.
And Becky's right in the middle of this thing with Bianca. So my fear was they're going to take Bianca's moment away from her in favor of this Ronda thing. Yeah. Luckily, that's not what they did, but that was my whole thought process when it first happened. I was like, man, and it took me a long time to snap out of that going through the rest of the show.
Yeah. Hey, Chris LaBelle, how we doing, buddy?
What's up, Chris?
Good to see you, Chris. So Kelly was my favourite. Yeah, it's just a shame she can't work, Courtney. To be honest, I thought Kelly. I didn't at first when I seen her. I was like, "Is that Kelly?" And then when I seen her come in the ring and start doing stuff, I was like, "Yes, that is Kelly." But no, I get you, mate. I totally get you. But the biggest problem I had, and this is especially with the men's Rumble, was the fact that and this is something that we've talked about a lot, Jim, and you know what, I might sound like a broken record, but it's something that I'm really passionate about in wrestling is when you've got such a weak mid-card,
there
is nobody there that you really think is a credible threat to win that Rumble. Let's look back to 97, 98, and Austin obviously was the man. But if you looked at them Rumbles, you had The Rock in there, Triple H in there, Ken Shamrock. There were so many people that you thought could credibly win the Royal Rumble because even though they weren't the headline of the card and the top of the card, they still had that kind of that credibility where, because they were in these feuds in the mid-cards and people are invested in them, every one of them could have really won it. Where, you've got Madcap Moss running in with his dancing about and Corbin, and then you've got Drew McIntyre who comes in and they go, oh no, he's in a feud with Corbin and Madcap, and it's like, I think that's where, for me, the men's Rumble suffered so badly because the mid-card is so weak that, I didn't even believe Kevin Owens could win it. I'll be totally honest with you, because the way he's being booked and how he hasn't been really, shatterguns across and stuff, I truly didn't believe that Kevin Owens could win it.
I thought this was another one of those things. Like I said, I think the whole booking of the Rumble was weird, just because you had Drew McIntyre come out there and he gets into a fist fight on the outside, and then Kevin Owens makes his appearance, or he's the next come out, and then for some reason those two go at it. And what's the point of that? What is the purpose of that? And I think at that point, that's when I was like, Kevin Owens is probably not doing anything here. This is just so sloppy. And then my absolute biggest gripe is Brock Lesnar not just winning it, but he came in at number 30. So what was the plan there? He was the champion. So he was going to come in at number 30, even if he beat Bobby Lashley? Was that the plan?
Yeah.
They did nothing to kind of put a Band-Aid over the whole boo-boo.
The other thing is, Seth Rollins was hard done by in his match. Where was Seth? Why was Seth not in this match?
He was selling the beatdown from Roman. I get that, because apparently they wanted Seth in the match.
Yeah.
they wanted him in it, and I like the fact that he wasn't, because if you remember back when Daniel Bryan was supposed to win it and he didn't, it was because he got a beatdown from Bray earlier in the night. They wanted to sell it. So I like that they didn't put Seth in it. That would have been too much. Yeah. But I just don't like that Brock just came out. It was like he didn't take the spot from anybody. Like, there was no story with that. It was just like, yeah, I'm going to enter it at number 30 no matter what. So
yeah.
What's the deal?
I mean, one thing that I'll say is, sorry, Chris LaBelle, Brock winning was predictable, but come on, Owens was right there. He was right there, but just in my own personal opinion, Chris, I just didn't believe he could win, just by the way he'd been booked and everything else. And again, it's not against the talent. It's just, for me, I believe that the reason WWE can't build new stars, or why they're suffering to build new stars, is because they're not laying the foundations for them. In terms of we've got NXT and all that, great, but then they come to the mid-card, to the main cards, and they flounder. And even stars that they've got in the mid-card don't do well, because there's, if you go back to like, as I say, I know keep going back to the Attitude Era, but even go back before then, you know, SummerSlam 1991, Bret Hart versus Mr. Perfect was one of the best card matches on the card, and it was a mid-card match. You know, you look at, I don't know, bloody go a bit further on than that, Triple H versus The Rock in a ladder match when both of them were fighting over the IC title. You know, them matches felt important and felt like real part of the card, but also, I believe by putting them in them feuds and building them up and doing all this stuff, it then set them up great for the top of the card. You know, look at Bret Hart, Mr. Perfect. Bret Hart went on to be, you know, obviously what he was, one of the best, built up from a tag team into that. Same with Rock and Triple H, you know, two of the greatest, arguably the greatest performers in wrestling history. They weren't even the main cards in this match. You know, if you go on to John Cena's US titles thing, again, it just goes on and on.
Do you think some of that has to do with smart fans, though? I mean, if you were honestly thinking, because back when I watched it, and then I stopped right around 2004, something like that. I don't ever remember having conversations with fans where they were smart to what was going on. They weren't like, oh, well, these guys are just these guys are a tag team just because they want to break them up. But now when you kind of pay attention to what the fans are like taking in and putting out, they get bored very easily these days. And I don't want to put that completely on them because the product could be better it could, but what's the point of putting forth that kind of effort if the fans are going to just kind of turn on whatever plan you have, or if they're anticipating certain things so that when it happens, it's not even that big of a deal. It's like, yeah, I knew that was going to happen. So it kind of, I think, puts a damper on things like that, and where you can't really invest in it as much.
Let me just ask you one question, though, right? Prison Break as a program. You know, potentially Power was another one. There's some really good programs out there. I don't know whether I'm getting there with this. Sons of Anarchy, any programs like that are on, which are, you know, Epic Sonic Television and stuff like that. You know, does everybody turn around and go, oh, we knew that was coming? They may do with certain things, but if you have good enough writers who can create that kind of illusion and to get you off the track and stuff like that, it can be done properly, Jim.
I'll give you one right now, and I will argue this till I'm dead. Game of Thrones was done masterfully, and the fans, they all knew it was coming. So when it came time for the culmination of the whole thing, everyone was just so mad at how it ended because they knew how it was going to end, and they had these predetermined ideas of it should be this way, it should be that way, and they weren't able to really enjoy the story, no matter how much they want to say it was bad. It wasn't bad. It just wasn't what they wanted. And I feel like that happens in wrestling way too much. I want this person to be here, and if it doesn't happen, this is stupid. I don't like it. I do get it. Plays a lot more into it than we want to agree with.
No, I do agree with that. I just feel like, you know, even for WWE, they're screwing themselves out of it by not having a stronger mid card, because it will build. Well, in my belief, it'll build the stars to the top ends of what we want.
They don't put forth the effort they definitely should, but again, it's kind of like, I don't know, man. As why put forth as much effort as they probably should if they know it's just going to be crapped on anyway.
But the thing is, they do the effort with the likes of Brock Lesnar and stuff like that, the top end of the card.
Yeah, no, they focus on the top of the card because that's what puts the butts in the seats in their eyes. And
I understand. No, they're not wrong, but they need to, you know, look at the bigger picture. That's what I'm trying to say. They need to look at the bigger picture.
Well, I'll also, since you brought up Brock Lesnar, if you think a few years ago, how mad were fans that Brock Lesnar was a part-timer and he wasn't doing anything? They were furious. Now we have Brock Lesnar, and he's not a part-timer. He's really putting forth the work. And what do you have people doing? They're mad because he's all over the place. It's like you can't win all the time with him, and I think that's I think it's a bigger problem than people want to admit.
No, I totally agree with you, Jim. I just think that, you know, WWE should stick with what they do, and I know they've got to worry about the fans and stuff like that, but as you say, you can't please all the people all the time. You know, what happens when Brock goes and Roman goes? What happens then? You know, and that's where they need to get this. They need to think of the long game. That
could go hand in hand with the whole selling rumors, though. They might not care what happens when those guys are gone, because by then it's not their problem.
Yeah, interesting. Well, Courtney says, They just threw the storylines all together and it makes no sense at all. Sometimes they can get it right. You know, even like on Raw, I don't care what anybody says on Raw, where the Riddle scooter race, the way it went on throughout the program, good storytelling in my opinion.
You keep people invested. That's it. You don't make something short. You got to keep their attention so that when something happens, it means something.
Yeah, Shane out there booking the Royal Rumble.
No, he wasn't. No, he wasn't. I know it's a fun story to latch onto, but no.
Yeah. If you actually look at the actual release of the bookers that people released after the matches, then Shane wasn't even on there, so I don't really know how you get that. Shane has gone from WWE, but not Ali.
I did see where Fightful reported that Shane wasn't like a producer for it, but he did have some input on it. So he did have input. I don't think he's out there being like, all right, Papa's not here. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. Nobody can stop me. I don't buy it.
Yeah, no. So Shane got button out Ali. Yeah, well, it looks like. But at the end of the day, Shane's not gone, and he's not going to go to AEW Courtney, no matter what people say. Him stupid. And it was a good scooter race. It really was a good scooter race. So let's change our attention now, Jim, and look at the Elimination Chamber. A couple of matches so far. We've got Drew McIntyre versus Madcap Moss. Poor Drew.
Man, if people not watch their match at day one, it was fantastic. It was. And Madcap Moss put something on Twitter. I don't know if it was on WWE's thing or if it was his own personal one where he cut a promo about Drew McIntyre. It was great. He wasn't doing the joke stuff. I like
I like Madcap Moss. My only problem is with Drew. I just always think back to how he carried that whole thing through the whole Thunderdome area, and it's like he needs us to, you know what I mean? I just can't get it out of my mind. Yeah. You know, and do you know what? I hope, mate, more than anything, into next year at LA when I go, because that'll blow me up, because it's like I'm that invested with it, because I feel like he's done so well with it that he deserves that WrestleMania moment with the crowds. And
I still think it's at the UK pay-per-view later this year. Yeah, that's what I think.
Fingers crossed, because I'll be there. Chris LaBelle says Chad Gable is going really good recently. He really has. I'm really loving Alpha Academy as a whole. Brilliant. Yeah, he did the promo on his Instagram, was great. Yeah, he is good. Madcap Moss, there's no thing. People keep going on about his attire as well. I don't mind his attire. I think it fits him really well with his thing. And the interactions between him and Corbin, I think, are brilliant, where they're laughing at each other. And do you know what? It's nice to see. You can see them two having genuine fun. It's not put on. It's not thingy. The two of them are having a good laugh. You know what I mean? Second match on that card, we've got Roman Reigns with Paul Heyman versus Goldberg. And then on the next match that we've got, go on, what's your thoughts on Roman Reigns versus Goldberg?
Man, I went to the WWE's YouTube page just to look at Goldberg videos, just to see if the numbers really were as high as people say they are. You get 20 million, 35 million, 16 million for views on Goldberg. My thing is, people can say they don't want Goldberg all they want, but there is a large number of people who still want to see this man.
Yeah.
So it's not out of the realm of belief that they're looking at the analytics. They're seeing that the people in Saudi are watching these clips on YouTube, and they're saying, hey, this is what they want to see. Let's give it to them. It's not putting Goldberg in a main event spot at WrestleMania, which is what I was fearing for. So I'm glad that this is getting taken care of now. Yeah. And apparently it's his last match of his contract. So,
well, okay, I'm going to go on my rant of the week now. I said I'm going to have me rant every single week, right? Smackdown last night. Crap. But one thing that I'm going to say, and I'm going to say this. WWE, and it's back to creative again, but this time it's at the main event level, right? WWE need to stop with the whole Goldberg turns up after nobody's seen him for ages and goes, you're next. And the next minute, okay, Bill, and it's a title match. It's the most laziest thing I've ever seen in my life. If you go back, right, over the last 2.5 years, Jim, right, apart from the Bobby feuds where they've done it a little bit differently, but Goldberg comes out from nowhere. No one's seen him in months. He walks over and goes, you're next, drops the mic and gets off. Next minute, Goldberg, such and such and such for the Universal title or whatever it is. It's like, it's just lazy booking, and it's just something that they just do constantly.
I won't argue that it's lazy, but again, I try to look at it as soon as I see it's a Saudi show, I throw my expectations for the booking right out the window. I think they're just trying to put on a glorified house show for these people. Yeah. And I'm all for it because they deserve a show just as much as any other fans in the world, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. That's always been my belief. So if they're going to put on a show, and I'm sure they have, like I said, they have the analytics to look at and say, this is kind of what we need to do to give these fans what they're going to enjoy the most. If it's Goldberg versus Roman Reigns, so be it. At least it's not taking up something like WrestleMania or SummerSlam, or it's not taking up one of those main big shows. And it's literally just, you blink and it's over with. So
don't get me wrong, it's nothing to do with the Saudi show because Goldberg's done this for WrestleMania matches, SummerSlam matches. It's not going to
defend those.
Yeah,
you won't catch
it's nothing to do with the Saudis. It's just the whole lazy booking of Goldberg. Because for me, when you do that, where he walks out and goes, "You're next," right, and then gets off, and next minute it's announced it's a title match or whatever it is. What's stopping anybody else from doing that? What makes Goldberg different to everybody else? Why does that's my biggest problem, is just kind of like there's nothing behind it, and also it drops credibility for, say, a number one contenders match, because what's stopping Goldberg from turning up after somebody and going, "You're next," and then that match is done with? That's my issue. It's nothing to do with the Saudi show or anything like that. It's because he's done it a couple of times over the years, and it just does me head in. It really does.
And it is kind of silly to think like there is a story they could have went with it, because it was supposed to be Roman and Goldberg at WrestleMania a few years ago, and then Roman backed out. They could have easily played upon that, made something more out of it. They didn't.
Yeah.
They did the "you're next."
Yeah.
Again, I try I try not to even put too much thought into it, just because I know it's gonna drive me crazy. Like it just drove you crazy. I know it's gonna do it, so I'm just like, be gone, Goldberg. Hurry up, be gone, and I'll be happy.
Yeah. So we're not going to go through every match on this card, because we'll do that when we do our review show. But Bobby Lashley, Brock Lesnar, Seth freaking Rollins, Austin Theory, Riddle, and AJ Styles in the match. What's your thoughts on this? Because we did hear that originally Riddle was supposed to win the Rumble, which I would have just absolutely lost me. I'll guarantee you guys I would have probably headbutted my camera and everything. But there's rumours that he could actually win the title here. What's your thoughts?
Please, very much, because I went back and I looked. It was June, I think, 12th of last year. I said Matt Riddle was winning the Royal Rumble. The trajectory was there. The things lasted too long. It didn't happen. But I was dead set. This man was going to be in a title match, main event level WrestleMania match. I was dead set on it in June of last year. Then I heard the rumor and I wanted to cry, because I was like, you taking this from me?
You know what
Why?
I was saying.
Why are you doing that? Now it looks like that whole thing could be rectified by simply having him win at the Elimination Chamber. So please make this happen. I am begging you.
WWE, let's do it. Let's do it.
Because what you have is, I don't know what you do with WrestleMania. I don't think.
Well, apparently they want to do the RK Bro split at WrestleMania, and they want the title involved in it. So
I think
with Randy not being in this match, it makes more sense to put the title on Riddle here.
Yes, and I wouldn't even do the split until WrestleMania, because I think they would probably try and do the Randy Riddle match, and I don't think a month is enough time to tell the story. But it would be perfect to have Riddle do the WrestleMania main event, win the title, and then what you have is a Randy Orton, Matt Riddle, RKO Bros split storyline that takes you out of WrestleMania and keeps people invested in your show, as opposed to, well, WrestleMania is over with, back to my normal programming. I think it's the smartest decision they could possibly make.
But what you could do maybe is, if you're looking only on Riddle, I mean, it depends on what the plan is with Riddle. If they're looking at him as a long-term champion to take him past WrestleMania, then, making the Arcade Bro match at WrestleMania could make sense, because, you could build it from there. No, but hear me out here, right?
I got you.
So, you could do it there, and then he overcomes Randy, maybe do a follow-up of Backlash, and then obviously make him go to the races there. If you're not, and you're only looking at using Riddle as a transitional champion, then you could do exactly what you're saying there, but have Randy cost him the title at WrestleMania. And then we've got that storyline starts from there. You could have him have the title up until WrestleMania with Randy. I'm proud of you, boy. I'm the one that taught you this. Everything's great. WrestleMania comes, bang, cost him the title. We're off to the races.
My only issue with that is I hate it when they use people for transitional champions when it's their first run. I think it's just, I think that makes it impossible for them to bounce back, because if they put the title on you to transition it from one person to the next, that just shows me that they don't really have that much belief in you. It's like a test run. And if you've done it a month,
I don't think he's going to be done, Riddle, because I think just based on merch sales and everything else.
Oh, no, absolutely
also,
not.
even at the Rumble, did you hear the crowd for him?
Oh, yeah.
No. There's
RK Bro is
no
the hottest babyface act in all of wrestling.
They can't ignore that, mate.
Yeah.
Can't ignore it. And they've already said as well, haven't they, that apparently backstage, Vince McMahon looks at Riddle like a kind of Shawn Michaels, a young Shawn Michaels. So, hopefully we get that. Let's have a look. I heard Rollins was supposed to win against Roman at the Rumble too. From what I gathered, Courtney, Rollins was meant to win the championship at day one, but obviously with the COVID situation, that changed. But interesting. Riddle winning would be cool. It so would, mate. So would, Chris. Courtney says, yeah, bro. Yeah, I feel okay, broke. So Randy's going to kill Riddle. I think Riddle's got to come out on top of it, because I don't think how established Randy Orton is. He doesn't need that, does he, Jim?
No.
Riddle does.
I think Randy has embraced this role of being a person that helps push people to the next spot. Like he did a fantastic job with Drew. I don't think we really got to appreciate as much as we did because there wasn't fans, but I think he did a fantastic job with Drew. And the whole thing with Randy Orton, when it happens, it's going to just be huge. It could go either way. And that's what's great about it is normally it's like, this is what's going to happen, but Riddle could turn on Randy and it would be just as impactful and awesome. And
it really was.
It's so good about the whole RK Bro thing. And
I think the thing that WWE haven't tapped into it, Riddle, because the whole King of Bros character and all like that is, he was a legitimate UFC fighter, and they've got all that backstory there that they still haven't even looked at yet, which when it does come, can freshen up the Riddle character again. So there's a lot of different things that we can do with this character, I believe. And, obviously with that UFC background and whatnot, you've got a total switch that could happen. And it's good to have that kind of depth in a character without having to use it straight away. What if Riddle turns on Randy because he gets too overcard? Totally could happen. Totally could happen, Chris. It's a good, there's a lot of possibilities, and that's why I believe he will get to the top ends, because there is a lot of possibilities for Riddle. And I think, if we're saying that, hopefully the writers see that. So, okay, so on to the next final WWE spot, and then we're going to have a quick chat about AEW. Nothing against any AEW fans watching this, not get that. It just wasn't really a significant week in AEW.
Worthy.
Yeah, the only thing that I will mention on AEW, so let's get to that first. So, Ronda versus Charlotte, what's your thoughts on that? I know we've touched on it, but yeah, okay, that's enough on that.
I'll just say, I put out a video last week about how it would have made sense, and what they did makes no sense. The fact that I came up with something like that and they put no effort into it at all blows my mind. Do
you think that they're thinking that because Ronda's only just coming back, they want the whole year to build Ronda Becky for next year's Mania? Do you think they keep them apart that long?
They should have waited to bring Ronda back after WrestleMania if that's the case, because the match that we want to see is Ronda Becky. You can't do that because you're taking something from Bianca. Charlotte has nothing. Oh, let's give her Ronda. It makes no sense. Yeah. They could have done a little something to be like, okay, I'm going to turn my attention to Charlotte because now she's pissed me off, and do something. They didn't. It was literally like, I'm choosing you because you guys talk too much. That's dumb.
Yeah.
That's dumb.
Ah, well. All right, let's move on from that anyway. First AEW thing that I want to talk about is MJF going over CM Punk. I think it's the only real big newsworthy thing from the come out of this week, and I thought it was brilliant.
Not once, but twice. Bro, again, something that just made me want to cry. I was like, come on, man. He just did it to this man twice.
Yeah. But it's the right move.
It was absolutely brilliant because once they restarted the match, I think everyone was like, okay, Punk's going over. Like that was because that's what they did with the Jericho match. It's what we all thought was happening. So to have him not only make Punk pass out, but then pin him in the middle of the ring in Chicago, it's brilliant. Yeah. It puts MJF, not even that he needed to be on another level because he's already on almost like an island of his own, but it just put him on such a different level now. And it's crazy how good this kid is. It blows my mind every time I watch him. He further just impresses me each time. And the whole story was just awesome.
It really was. Let me just have a little look here for a minute. Yeah, so that's the only thing I think really worthwhile from AEW. I know we had runs. It looks like we're going to have Rosa versus Britt again. Yeah, okay. And also, the other thing was they've announced, Tony Khan has announced. Oh, I found the video, Chris, by the way, so I know what to do them all now. Yeah. So one thing that I will say is with the AEW announcing or all elite signups have announced that they've got another free talent. I think this one's a pretty simple one. What do you think on this?
I don't think it's as simple as people think. I know everyone's going to Keith Lee. I think that's what everyone's thought is. I'm not jumping in on the Keith Lee idea. I think it could just as very easily be Karrion Kross. I will say I thought it was very interesting that Tony Khan was like, watch Rampage for some breaking news tonight. And then the breaking news was, tune into Dynamite on Wednesday where I'll be breaking news. Come on, you can't do that, man. Yeah. That's dirty.
They just don't seem to be getting the viewership up recently, though, AEW. What do you think that is?
I think they have. I think it's the same thing with how NXT was before the rebrand. I think they have their core audience. That core audience is going to watch them. You'll have a few tune in one week, and then they won't tune in the next week. They'll TiVo. All these other. There's multiple ways they're watching, but I think they have their core audience. And until they do something that reaches out and brings in the new viewership, which we've talked about many times, that we don't feel like they do enough of to try and bring in new viewers. Until they do that, this is going to be their number. It's not terrible. It's just not.
So do you feel like, my thoughts on this is obviously they've brought in a lot of wrestlers, which they needed wrestlers anyway, whether they've brought in a lot or not, they did need wrestlers. And obviously like CM Punk and Bryan Danielson and Adam Cole, just a few that he brought in. As long as they've still got the pillars, though, they've still got them guys in there that come from the start. And that's awesome to me, to see MJF benefiting from a win over CM Punk this week's great, because it shows that they are, investing in their own talent as well. But one thing that gets me is if you're Tony Khan now and you're trying to get this mainstream audience, should we say, and you're trying to look at what goes on there, do you start pumping some money into some celebrities and stuff like that?
Absolutely. He's tried it. It just hasn't worked. I think the biggest miss they had was when they did it with Shaq. Shaq is a massive name. Like, he's going to bring viewers. Shaq did nothing to help them. He promoted it. Like, he didn't even tweet one time about him being on the show. And I think that's where they need to kind of work on when they get these celebrities. Hey, promote it.
I think the thing that they need to do is realize that, the core audience is going to change nowadays. So, I know they had Mike Tyson on at one point, and it's like in 2022, how big of a star is Mike Tyson? To me and you, he is, Jim, because it's from our era. But, for 19, 20, 21-year-olds, so a lot of them even know Mike Tyson now.
They know him from The Hangover.
Yeah. But that's the thing. Why don't you go and get someone like Zach Galifianakis or have them do a laugh between two fans in the ring?
I liked the thing they did with Shaq. I think Shaq was awesome on the show. I think it was a great idea. It kind of seemed like their deal with Impact. It was like a one-way thing. It was like, we're doing all the work, and he's gonna there was no working together there. I think Shaq could have really helped them pump a number up, probably bringing maybe 200,000-300,000 extra viewers had he properly promoted it instead of just.
And they've had they've had a Logan Paul on there, so they could get someone like KSI or something like that to come on their show. You know what I mean? Or as I say,
if they did something with Mr. Beast, my son, even if he watches AEW, but if he didn't watch AEW and he heard Mr. Beast was going to be on the AEW, he's tuning in to watch it. Like, it's done. He's going to do it. So he said Mustafa Ali.
Yeah, man's crazy. Chris, it's not going to be Mustafa Ali. I think first time I actually saw ref as a guy a weapon in hand. Yeah, just the only thing I'll say is don't talk to me about AEW referees because all I keep thinking about is that idiot Aubrey. Hard cam count. Silly bitch. Tyson's that guy that got his ear, but that's how I remember Tyson. Yeah, just what I was saying there. Get Zach Galifianakis do a Between Two Ferns live in the ring. have him have bloody MJF as a guest or something. That'd be awesome. That, you know, they could do. There's a lot of things they could do, but they just need to, as you say, go into popular culture and start getting some guys from that. You know what I mean? And stop listening. Because I think one thing that they have got wrong is Tony Khan's obviously been a wrestling fan for a long time. And when he's got someone like Cody Rhodes, who's constant, and Arn Anderson potentially, and people like that, who are constantly advising him, they're going to be like, well, in the old school, this, and in the old school, that. And Tony's going to be like, okay, we need to keep it real. Do you know what I mean? And
yeah, no. Arn is a big problem. Arn is a big problem. He was the one that was like, the Bad Bunny is a terrible idea. No, shut up. Bad Bunny was a brilliant idea. A very brilliant idea.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think that's time for us to wrap it up then, Jim. You know, not a bad little week, to be honest with you. Loads more than what I thought we'd have to speak about. But, you know, it's been, as I say, it's not a bad week. Courtney, Chris, and everybody else who's joined us, thanks so much for watching with us. We appreciate you being here. We'll be back next week with another weekly roundup. Same time as always. Obviously, we're very, very stringent with this now, guys. We always keep it going. Same time, same place for the algorithms. And we will have a watch along for Crown Jewel. And we have videos popping up left, right, and centre. Go and watch some of the videos on WrestleBuddy on the YouTube channel. Some of them are absolutely hilarious. I know we're going to release some on Facebook shortly as well. Jimmy's reviews each week as well for Raw and Dynamite are awesome. I love them. You know, most of the time it determines whether I'm actually going to go ahead and watch Raw.
I'm going to let you guys know what you should watch and what you don't need to watch.
Yeah. As we always say, Jim suffers so you don't have to. That's the motto. And as I say, you know, go over to WrestleBuddy.com, check out all the new news articles and other articles that we have. We are on the Dirt Sheet. We do write some news articles, but a lot of stuff that we write is opinion pieces and top 5 lists, things like that. So it's something totally different than what you're probably getting in your normal news outlet. So make sure you come over and check us out, guys. But until then, we will see you again, same time, same place next week. But for me and Jimbo, take care.